Welcome to the Needless Things Top 10 Action Figures of 2024. This is take 3. I've run into a couple of technical difficulties trying to do it this way. In past years, I have had different presentation formats. I'm trying to use StreamYard because I feel like I have a nice, clean presentation and present everything in a much smoother fashion than I have in past kind of patched together uh, releases of my top 10s. But this is the top 10 of 2024, just action figures, not including vehicles or anything else. And also, I want to explain a little bit how I arrive at my top 10, because obviously we all have different taste in action figures. We all want different things out of the figures that we get. I am not like, I could reasonably and justifiably just make Operation Monster Force Season 1 my top 10. There are 10 figures in that. They are all excellent. 10 of the best figures that came out in 2024. And like I said, I could justify that. But that's not really what I want to do. That's not as much fun as what I like to do as a top 10. I like to try and choose 10 different lines and the best figures, like the 10 best lines and the best figures from those lines, sort of. But I'm also like, I am ranking these from 10 to 1, but I'm also not really comparing these. I am judging each figure for how well it achieved what the manufacturer was trying to, or how well it executed what the manufacturer was trying to achieve. Like, is this the best retro wrestling figure that I saw for that aesthetic? Because obviously I'm not comparing a retro wrestling figure to like a G.I. Joe classified figure. You can't compare those things. The only way you can compare those things, and this is how I do, is by saying, how much does this excite me? How satisfied am I with this for what it is? But I'm not going to sit there and say, well, the G.I. Joe classified figure has double jointed knees and elbows. That makes it better than this 5 points of articulation wrestling figure. Like, that's silly talk. It's about how much satisfaction each figure brings me. And which is why I really have to choose sort of 10 different figures from different lines doing achieving different things. Like let's say a Mad Ball, well sculpted, well painted Mad Ball, no points of articulation, but it could be the best figure of the year, because I do consider it. Yeah, they're toys, but I would put those at this point. Mad Balls are a collector oriented item, and they're a figure just as much as any other like Slug or anything else might be. But those are my standards. And look, as you guys know, if you watch my reviews, sometimes too much articulation is a bad thing for me. Sometimes I will never stop being mad about toe joints, the little, like in WWE Ultimates, and many other lines, those toe joints that I think are just a waste and are a potential point of failure, 2 potential points of failure in any action figure that they're included in, and they don't really add anything to the playability, the posability, or whatever else. Not in my opinion. So yeah, I look at each release. I look at the format that it represents. I look at the execution, the quality, and really just the joy that the figure brought me when I opened it, and continues to bring me when I look at it on the shelf. And so, out of all of the releases in 2024 that I bought, and that's another thing, is I'm only looking at things that I bought, and in most cases only looking at things that I reviewed. uh I think there's only one item on the list that I didn't review, and when I get to it, you'll understand why. uh I'll explain why. But everything on the list was reviewed here on the Needless Things YouTube channel, so you can go and check out the full-length reviews if you'd like to. But I think I found a nice format to present my top 10 here that, again, is kind of streamlined, clean, easy to digest, and I don't, there's no reason for this to be any kind of epic length video. I'm going to talk a little bit about each entry, starting with 10 and moving up through 1, because that's how we do these things. But like I said, if you want more details or you want to see a full review, they're all available on the Needless Things YouTube channel. And I guess I probably should link them in the comments. So if I remember to do that, because this is going to be wrapping up well after midnight, I will put those links in the comments. That is no reason I should. With all of that being said, also I want to say, please leave your top 10s or 5s or just your favorite of 2024, whatever. Leave it in the comments. I engage with comments here as long as it's not people just spitting for no reason. Um, and this is not like, if you want to critique my top 10, you can, but there's no point because it's my top 10. Like, you can't tell me my top 10 is wrong. Well, you can, but that's just goofy. But I do want to hear your top 10s or 5s or whatever. I want to hear what your favorite figures are, because my hope with all of this is that maybe somebody will watch this and see a figure that they missed and they can go back and grab, or maybe I'll shed some light on something that they didn't look, that maybe you didn't look at the same way that I did, and you'll be like, oh, you know what, that's a good point, maybe I do want that figure. And I'm hoping for the same thing from you guys. I'm hoping with you sharing your top 10 lists or favorite figures, that I'll see something that I maybe disregarded or didn't even know about and be like, oh man, I've got to have that. I'm glad you made me take a second look. It's all about being a community and sharing uh what we love. So without further ado, as they often say, here is number 10. All right, number 10. Jeff Jarrett has been one of my favorite wrestlers for many, well, probably since, I've liked him ever since he was in the tag team with Owen Hart, but I would say he has been a favorite and one that I greatly respected since 2002 when I started watching TNA. I think he's got a story that is truly unique in the wrestling business. He has brought something important to every company that he has been a part of, and he has been a part of like every company just about. I think ECW is the only modern company that he hasn't participated in some way, and really modern company, well, 25 years ago, whatever. The Jarrett is a heck of a character, and this figure captures everything that I love about Jeff Jarrett. That entrance coat is absolutely incredible. The portrait is just that face you want to punch so bad. Uh, every like they nailed it. They nailed the execution on this one, and it just makes me so happy to have a Jarrett figure of this quality in my collection. And the other thing that Jazzwares got right is this is the best breakaway guitar that has ever been released in toy form. Yes, if you touch it too hard, it does fall apart, but it still looks better and stays together better than any other breakaway guitar I've ever had. Now, I will say, I think there's only really two other breakaway guitars, because Jax and Mattel each used their one mold that they made for everything they ever released. But this is a great one, and this is a great way to start this list off. Love this figure. All right. From Major Bendy's, and please do check out my interview with Mike Canick from Major. You can check out collectmajor.com. So, yeah, this is a Bendy. It's the most simplistic figure you can possibly have. And for years, I disregarded Bendies and didn't even think of them as action figures. Now, obviously, like anybody else who's ever owned toys, I owned Bendies throughout my life. I remember I had this one generic rabbit with a carrot when I was very, very young that I think I maybe got for Easter one year. I had the Roger Rabbit Bendies. I had some Nightmare Before Christmas. I think only the Jack was a Bendy. I'm not positive about that. But anyway, I've had Bendies throughout my life, but they were never a figure form that I pursued. They were always less than to me. Like if it just wasn't, there was a period of time where the only Star Wars toys really were Bendums, and I just had zero interest. They didn't count. But I honestly believe that the major guys have elevated what was once throwaway figures to an art form, because if you look at this Maki Ito figure, the sculpt is amazing. The paint is incredible. Like the old WWF Bendhams, she's got the signature on the back there. This is a phenomenal collectible piece. Is it a fun action figure? Nah, not really. But it looks great, and it is a representation of a character that otherwise you would not see in toy form. I don't see a Maki Ito figure coming anytime soon. So check out collectmajor.com for their releases. But this figure is, again, it's all about how well it was executed in this form. And this is collectible wrestling figure perfection to me. I had a little blip there. So much for streamlined smoothness. Number 8 is Nemesis Immortal from the G.I. Joe Classified series. When they first revealed the look of this figure, I did feel like they were, capturing the essence of Nemesis Enforcer as he was previously known. But I wasn't sure because he had these giant thigh holsters, which I removed as soon as I got him out of the package. And the wings, I wasn't too sure about. But now that I've got him in hand, and I know the wings are still a little controversial, but they have such a great range and add so much dynamism to the figure that I love them now. I'm glad he doesn't have just giant bat wings. I've got a figure that has sort of the giant stereotypical bat wings, and it's just not much fun to play with. This Nemesis Enforcer, these wings are toyetic and exciting and fun to move around, and you can do a lot with them. And the sculpt of the figure, the paint on the figure, it's just really, it's an imposing, fantastic piece. And if you'll notice in looking, if you're watching this on the Needless Things YouTube channel, the fact that he's standing up on this rotating plate thing and maintaining his balance is incredible. For as big and thick and chunky as this figure is, with those big giant wings sticking out of him, the fact that he's maintaining his balance here is wild. And he's been doing that on a shelf for a couple of months or whatever now. So extremely well executed figure from an engineering standpoint. And I like that they went with a little bendy creature as an alternate backpack plug-in that I will never put on his back, but that looks cool and is a fun little extra to have. So excellent work on this Nemesis Immortal. I don't think I could be any happier with this one. Next up at number 7, this is the Delta 17 Okami Elite Sentry. So Delta 17 is, in my opinion, without question, producing the best O-rings on the market right now. This stuff is top-notch toy making. And the fact that they came out of nowhere, Joe Fest 2 years ago showed up with prototypes of these incredible figures. A year later, you could just walk right up and buy them. No Kickstarter, no nothing. Absolutely amazing. I still think people are sleeping on this line. You got to check it out. Check out, I think it's delta17toys.com. Pick one out, order it, get it shipped to you, and see what you think. The plastic quality is incredible. The gloss looks just like the original Hasbro Joes. And you can see if you take a look at the backpack on this guy, the functionality of the storage of the weapons and everything. It's just a beautiful figure. Now, the reason this one is my pick, the other Delta 17 figures I got before the end of 2023, but technically the whole line should count as 2024. And much like Operation Monster Force, this is an instance where I could have picked 10 Delta 17 figures to be the top 10. They're that good. And this figure, the red and black, is just very striking. And it is a little sentimental to me that it was a Joe Fest exclusive, because Joe Fest 2024 is the first convention I ever went to where I was able to buy convention exclusives, because I don't get out to like San Diego Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con or anything. So for that reason, this one's pretty special to me too. But also, if you just look at it, it's excellent. So it's a perfectly executed O-ring figure, and I love it. Next up, number 6 is the Christopher Lee Dracula from NECA. NECA has just been killing it for years now, and they are my go-to for horror. If there's a horror character, monster, whatever that I want, my first hope is that NECA is going to release it. And as I've talked about many times here on the channel and in the old Needless Things podcast, the Hammer horror movies are the first ones that I saw. I saw those before I saw the Universal Monsters, and Christopher Lee is my Dracula. This figure is gorgeous. It is perfectly executed. The cape is unbelievable. Words cannot do justice to how excellently the fabric on this cape moves and hangs and drapes on the figure. The portrait's unbelievable. Well, it came with multiple portraits, and they're all excellent. This is a dream figure for me, and NECA just absolutely knocked it out of the park, like I said, as they have been doing for years. 2024 didn't see me buying a ton of NECA because I feel like they expanded in some other directions and there weren't as many things that hit for me. But as you may have seen, Nightmare Before Christmas, interesting story there that I'll get to as soon as I review the Jack Skellington. But 2025 is looking really big for Dave West and NECA, so I'm going to be glad to be buying more of their stuff. But this very, very strong number 6. Let's move into top 5. Number 5. So this is a very special figure. Again, this is one that I picked up at Joe Fest. Was not an exclusive, but just I happened to pick it up there. And it's from Grindstone Toys. This is the Multiverse Massacre Necromancer. Had Grindstone on. I'm trying to think now if it was Audible Interlude or the Creator Series, but I had a great interview. And this could have been number 1. My top 5 is very, very competitive. And I'm looking at this now. Like, I look at the other 4 in my top 5, and I understand why this isn't number 1, but it could have been. This is a beautiful figure. Obviously, there's a bit of an homage to Skeletor here, but this jetpack with the green flame effects, which are removable, by the way, incredible. He's got a magic effect. He's got so many interchangeable hands. There's so many parts that you're not seeing in this single picture that I'm providing. But again, go and check out the full review that I did of the figure. This is the Multiverse Massacre Necromancer. Check out the Needless Things YouTube channel, and you can see all of the accessories that it came with, including, if you look in his right hand there, that zapper should look pretty familiar to any child of the 80s, anybody that owned an NES. But there are just so many fun little things about this figure. It's so perfectly executed. And this, so far, the Multiverse Massacre stuff has been just right up my alley. As well, not even mentioning the packaging for them, which is all old school VHS stuff. But this is strong number 5, which should give you an indication of how great the rest of the entries are. So moving on. Number 4, I've already mentioned him a couple of times. Operation Monster Force is really the line of 2024. All 10 figures are excellent, but this one, the Crimson Moon Sleepwalker, is, when I look at the shelf, this is the one that jumps out at me. The red is very, very striking, but it's the fact that it comes with so many different parts that you can customize everything from their face mask to their backpack to their weaponry. Like, it can all be configured however you want, to the point where I don't think any two people's Sleepwalkers are going to look the same. There's an unbelievable variety of customization available with this figure and the other Sleepwalker figures. Go watch the full review. I cannot recommend enough that you go to bigbadtoystore.com, order yourself a Sleepwalker. There are a couple different variations of them. Well, there are 3. There's heavy weapons, there's obsidian, and there's crimson. Order one, and once you get it, you're going to order more. But this is an outstanding action figure from a brand new line. It's the line I was most excited about in 2024, and it over delivered. I just can't say enough good things about Operation Monster Force. And also, I did interview folks from Fresh Monkey Fiction on the Needless Things Creator Series, so check that out as well. But yeah, just get yourself some Operation Monster Force figures. You will thank me. Number 3, the WWE Ultimate Asuka figure. So, I will admit right up front, Asuka is my favorite wrestler. So there is some of that involved in this figure being so high on the list. However, I also feel that this figure is an incredible accomplishment. Now, again, watch the full review, but all of her gear under the robe that you're looking at right now is just top-notch sculpt and painted detail. But this robe, look at the layers on this thing, that fur layer, the hanging sleeves, the print on the robe. It's unbelievable that this was a $30 figure, because I think Ultimates were still $29.99 at the beginning of the year. I don't think they had gone up to $32.99 yet, but even if they had, Asuka was worth it. This figure is so good, and I don't do this often with a figure that's just to have. I bought a second one just to keep in the box, just because it's that remarkable a figure to me. The portrait's incredible, the mask is incredible. This is what I think of as a centerpiece figure. Like, even if you don't have any other wrestling figures, you could put this on a shelf somewhere, and it's just a remarkable action figure. This is the kind of thing I would say to just a general toy collector, you might want to pick this up just to have it. It's that good. Number 2, the Super 7 G.I. Joe Ultimate Scarlet. Uh, this was perfect right out of the box. This is the Scarlet action figure that I have always wanted. You'll notice if you're watching the video, yes, she is standing on stands. As a matter of fact, those are the stands from the Cup crossover set. But she's back on my shelf now, because I recorded this video the other day. She stands perfectly well on a shelf, which I cannot say about every figure I own. But on this rotating thing, with those heels, there was just no way to get her to stay standing up. But this figure is absolutely gorgeous. It is a perfect representation of the Sunbow Scarlet. It is the look for Scarlet that I have wanted my entire life. The ponytail, everything about it, the colors. Super 7 nailed it. This is a top-notch Ultimates figure. If I had to make a list, and maybe someday I will make a list of top 10 Super 7 Ultimates, this Scarlet figure would be near the top. It wouldn't be the top, because I'm not going to say what it is, because someday I'll make that list. I'm looking at the top right now, but this one, top 5 for sure. Because, like I said, it's just excellently executed. This figure looks exactly how it should look to me. I love it. So it's time for number 1. I should have loaded up a drum roll, but I got to tell you right now, I've got multiple media elements I'm dealing with as it is. So a drum roll probably would have been a terrible, terrible mistake. So let's just move right on to number 1. The number 1 action figure of 2024, according to me, your host, Dave West, is the Mezco 112 Collective Firefly figure from G.I. Joe. I just don't even have enough words for how incredible this figure is, for how well they incorporated elements from various versions of Firefly into this singular vision, which is what Mezco does. one of the things I love about Mezco's 112 Collective is that they're not looking to, in general, they're not looking to present one specific look. Now they'll do stuff like Dark Knight Returns Batman or whatever, but their sort of mainline releases, how I think of them, is Mezco's designers taking elements from every version of a character and putting together sort of an ultimate look for that character. And this Firefly is perfection to me. It has everything that Firefly should have. The camo's incredible. If you've never seen a Mezco 112 Collective figure in person, I know a lot of people hate soft goods, and I get it. But their soft goods are immaculately scaled and produced so that the folds, the way they hang, the way they move, everything about them is. This is just a small Hot Toys figure, except it's posable. Uh, I I strongly recommend you go watch my full review of this figure so that you can see all of the detail, all of the accessories. Those drones that you see coming out of his backpack fold up and store in the backpack. Uh, the backpack itself is a work of art without even considering the figure. It's all just absolutely incredible. This is the figure that captivated me the most all year. It's the one that took me the longest to move from workbench, because usually the progression, the workbench where I do all of my reviews, and then to the desk, which you can see, well, you can't see right now, but when I come back up into full screen, you'll see right beside me the newest Super 7 Ultimates. Like the stuff will move into the desk area for a little while because I may talk about it on a podcast or whatever, and then eventually it'll move on to whatever shelf it's going to. This had the longest stretch of workbench to shelf, maybe of any figure outside of ones that I have determined are just desk like decoration, because I've got stuff scattered all around that I've decided just lives permanently on the desk. Um, I just couldn't stop messing with this one. Every time I walk by the shelf, I have to stop and look at it and take in the details. It is a masterpiece of toy craft, and Mezco gets a lot of guff for how long it takes them to produce stuff. And I'm not going to disagree with that, guff, but I will say in the end, it is worth the wait every single time. And this Firefly was no different. The number of different looks you can achieve with all the accessories that are included with this figure, it's mind blowing. It's an incredible, incredible piece. So that's it. That is my top 10 action figures of 2024, the things that brought me the most joy. Again, I wanted to provide different examples from different types of lines and figures and whatever else, because I love collecting lots of different things. My habits are terrible and extensive. Um, but I hope you enjoyed that look. I hope maybe I showed you something you weren't aware of and want to check out, or at the very least, you just saw some neat toys. So that's it. No reason to go any longer. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends about Needless Things. Like I said, share in the comments. Tell me your top 10, your top 5, your favorite, whatever. I want to hear what you like and what I should be checking out. That's all this community. And speaking of community, I will be getting out into the world a lot more in 2025. I already know I'm going to be making appearances at Con Nuga and FrankenCon. I'm working on showing up at other conventions. So I want to meet people. I want to get out there and talk about toys as much as I possibly can. I want this to be a big year, and I want to really get into the community and really start sharing thoughts, ideas, just getting more people checking out different kinds of toys. So again, thanks for watching. Until next time, buy what you like.
Smash that like button if you like Needless Things.